a landscape designer based in Vermont, is a little concerned when she is using gCADPlus, and this is not her design, this is another one we've been working on. In the properties box over here, the units say millimeters. Well, when you're working in the US and you're using decimal feet as your base, areas and so on are calculated just in base units. That little setting is really a convenience setting for you. It influences the way in which blocks might well be brought into the drawing, but it's not going to affect the results. She's a little concerned that if she does area calculations, and I'm in the area tool at the moment, I've gone up here and picked area, and I'm right in the middle of it, and I've run around this garden bed area here, and I'm about to conclude that. So I'll click now and close, and you see the area is highlighted, and if we come down here, the area there is 663 square feet. So let's call it, for ease of calculating, 650 square feet. But you can get that same value just by selecting the polyline, and have a look over here, 645. Now, if we change the unit setting here and say we want to be a little more comfortable in her example, and we want to have feet, there we are, and we pick that same area, it's still 645 square units. It's just that the setting is a mental setting in your mind. So to sum up, you work in the US in decimal feet. It's a mental setting. All values will be reported to you as simply as units. So for the sake of argument, if we draw a rectangle and we say we'll pop it here, specify the first corner point, and we'll say at 10 feet by 10 feet, and hit enter, and we then select that rectangle, and we look over here, the area is 100. It's not affected in any way by that setting. We could take it to a silly unit which you would use nanometers if you were a biologist. It's still 10 by 10 nanometers, so it'd be 10 by 10 100 square nanometers. So that area there is 100 square feet because it's 10 by 10. So if we look at that little rectangle, you can see our 645 is quite reasonable. So as you've already seen, you can click in the properties box and change this setting away from millimeters to feet. But what that's controlling is part of the unit setting in both AutoCAD and gCADPlus. So we've changed it from, by clicking over here in the properties box, we've changed from millimeters to feet. But it's not affecting the drawing. It's still full size, and every inquiry you make will still be in feet and square feet and so on. All it's doing is it affects when you happen to be inserting some external content into the drawing. Setting it at feet might make that a little more convenient. But as you've seen, if you work with gCADPlus, mostly when we are inserting blocks into a drawing, gCADPlus takes control of that. You can override it, but it usually is a matter of grabbing a symbol and then dropping it down, and it is scaled appropriately at that point. You could change the output precision for the angular. I don't think we need to change the output precision for decimal, but we may add that to a later version of gCADPlus. So I hope that clears things up. Basically, you can just ignore, let me go okay. Basically, for all intents and purposes, just ignore that units setting. We don't recommend that you play with units, not necessary. If you have any concerns in your drawing about distances, then dimension as we've done here. We've dimensioned that line there in the building and it dimensions correctly. We get exactly 28 feet. Try not to use text overrides and change it there, because we're trying to construct always a full size model of your site. So I hope that helps.